Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Multifamily Chronicles. I'm your host, Adrian Danila, and right here in the studio with me is my co-host,
Hi,
Gloria Gudo.
everyone. So I am Lori Gudo, the Director of Training and Talent Development for Royal American Management. Happy to be here. Thank you, Adrian, for having me again as a co-host. This is our second go-round together. It's always a pleasure to work with you. And I'm excited about today's conversation. So I will turn it back over to you to introduce today's guest.
Our guest today is Jaren Bradley. Welcome to the show, Jaren.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Jaren is the founder of Multifamily Consultants. I do wanted to say before anything else. Jared, before we go to Multifamily Consultants, you have a very rich history in property management on the operations side. So I want us to start by you taking us into that part of your journey, the multifamily operation journey. Just walk us through your journey.
Yeah, so I started as leasing consultant, as a lot of people do in our industry. I worked with a couple of large management companies before AMC, where I ended, but I worked with Pinnacle Management and Aimco, which was at the time one of the largest management companies in the country. And then I moved to AMC and kind of helped them get started. Actually, when I was working with Aimco, I helped AMC take on their first properties outside of Utah. And I was on a little break from what I was doing with them on their start team. And I ended up helping them take on their first properties in California. And then I just kind of continued to grow. I went from a leasing consultant in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I moved to a manager role for them. They moved me, they had an opening in Reno, Nevada. I've always liked traveling. So I was like, sure, yeah, I'll go out to Reno. Why not? And I moved out to Reno and then managed that property, got it very stable and organized. We promoted the assistant manager who I'd been training to the manager position, and they needed help in a new property in California. And I moved down there and learned a lot, but of managing a bigger team, and growing from that experience. And I quickly realized, though, I didn't love concrete, and there's a lot of concrete in California. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to head back to Salt Lake where my roots are, and went back there, managed the property for a little while, and AMC continued growing into new markets. And that I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada for them. And so I was in Las Vegas for about 8 years and a VP, started as a regional and then grew into a VP of operations for them, overseeing Arizona and Las Vegas. And we had the one property up in Reno that I had actually managed, fell into my portfolio as well. And then kind of just AMC continued to grow, which just kind of grew my markets and and then up into the next level of a senior vice president of operations. I started overseeing VPs in California, in Southern and Northern California. And then, kind of quickly grew out to the East Coast and east of Colorado. So at one point in my career, I had about 58,000 units that I oversaw in, at that time, about 19 states, and, just continued to grow. And, which with growth, you're going to grow the people under you. You're going to grow that, tight knit family that you've made. And so, growing my, what I call friends now, and still great friends. So just moving on up and continuing that growth throughout my career with AMC was, and I ended as senior VP of operations, and I had 22 states in my portfolio, and I was over 9 VPs and about 46 RPMs. And it ended up being about, it was about 37,000 units and 250 properties that I oversaw.
Wow. So I have a question.
Okay.
That's quite a journey. Many of us started leasing. I did as well, only 17 years ago, but that's kind of where we all start. So
Yeah.
How do you go from leasing consultant to where you are today? Like, what is your motivation behind continuing to kind of climb that ladder? Like, what was it for you that inspired you to continue growing and to have such a massive reach of the amount of units and the number of employees that directly reported to you? Like, how did you go from here to there? What kept motivating you
Well, to be
to do that?
honest, I never wanted to be outside of a leasing consultant. I was there. I wanted to
Okay.
be a leasing consultant. I was like, no
Okay.
responsibility. It's easy. You come in from the 9 to 5 and, and then when and getting leases was awesome to me, giving someone their home, and making sure that their home was in great condition. I loved that part of it. But then I experienced, obviously, now the next step is you're growing with a team, and to have an entire team win is so much more thrilling than having just that lease, getting that lease and having those wins and being the person that really guides them to that win was, I think, where my motivation just continued. I loved the first team I worked with, and it was a small team. We only had 4 of us total, and then so being able to grow to that next step and have more people on your team, and everybody's continuing to grow, and you're training them, and they're moving up and moving on from your properties to new properties and new positions, and I think that's really what motivated me. Is I just love that, seeing others grow and into that next position, and then I said, hey, I need to grow into that next position too. And so I just continue to love that. And I love traveling and being in different locations. And, so I think just as those opportunities opened up and we, AMC moved into new markets, then it was that opportunity for me to move into new markets as well.
Adrian?
Jaren, one of the challenges of growing with your role are the challenges that are coming from scaling, right? How do you scale a business? How do you scale? It's one way to manage, like 5,000 units versus 10, 20, 30,000. You went close to like 60,000 units. That's absolutely impressive. So what are some challenges that are coming with scaling? And then how did you overcome those challenges?
Oh, I mean, there's so many challenges with the scaling but the true overcome and the quick overcome is finding the right people. When you find the right people that you're working with that have similar passions, similar motivations, similar processes, that is really what helps you. I mean, the challenges of scaling up is just, you have the shortage of people. You have the shortage of, we're scaling up. We're taking on 2,500 units and, 10 new properties. And now we not only, on the property management side, you always think of, okay, I need the leasing, I need the managers, I need, the maintenance side, but you also have to grow your accounting department, your HR department, there's so much more to just, growing and scaling up that you have to find those right people. And then, the next part is you have to have those processes and the training and, and people that want to really sponge that in to be able to grow. That's the only way you're going to scale up, is you got to find those right people that have that right mindset that you have, and they want to grow, and they understand that part.
Now you're speaking my language, Jaren. Every time I hear the words training, obviously that's my wheelhouse, training and development. I find that today's job seeker and today's employee are looking for that. They're seeking for that training opportunity. They want to know that there's a clear path forward, to advancement if that's something they desire. They want to move up quickly. And that's not necessarily a generational thing we're finding. And so training is definitely, it's not only finding the right people, right? But it's also, how do you support those people and how do they continue to grow? Yep. And so I love to hear that, training has been part of your conversation so far this morning. That was a critical part of your role and why people in your employ moved up. and that's something that your organization offers, because there is so much tremendous value in that. And that's how you succeed. That's how you win, right?
100%. Yep.
Your,
I agree.
your leadership is reflected in how well your people perform. So I love that. I do have, obviously in your role, you've held many different roles in the industry, different markets. What are the most significant lessons that you have learned throughout your career in property management? If you can kind of narrow it down, maybe even like top 3, what are the most significant lessons that you would want to pass on to someone listening or watching this broadcast?
I think probably my number one that I've always come back to is trust but verify. You got to trust your employees. You have to trust that they're doing their jobs, that they're, doing the work. But as a leader and someone who's watching over them, you have to verify that they're doing it. You can have someone tell you till they're blue in the face that they, inspected their entire property before this owner visit. And then you get to the property and you discover that their landscaper has only completed the first portion of their property and never touched the back, which means no one went to the back of the property, so you got to trust but verify. I've always been a huge fan of keeping score. So tracking the successes of your employees, tracking the successes on a monthly, a weekly, even sometimes where properties are, if properties are not doing well, track their successes on a daily basis. That always helps motivate them to do better. And I'm going to touch back on, making sure that you train your employees, be that example, make sure that you're willing to always do what your employees should be doing. So, we had even in the role that I'm doing right now, I out on a property a few weeks ago, filling up 17 5-gallon buckets of trash just because, hey, we had an owner come in that day and we were short staffed on the maintenance side. And it's like, hey, that's my job too. I want to make sure that the property looks the best. And, especially when owners are coming, or, we shouldn't always just be just for the owners, but you get, it's like, so, be that example, do any job that comes in front of you and know that job and, be able to do it at any time. So.
And I'm sure your employees respect you for that. They see you picking up trash on the property. That means that even in your role, you're not too good to pick up a piece of trash, and 100%. They're watching and they're looking to you to model your behavior. So, that's really setting a great example for them to follow. I love it.
Yeah, I hope so. But yes, that's the idea. I hope so.
Jaren, I want to go back a little bit to the scaling part that you just described. And basically, you kept saying people, right? It all comes back to people. It's all about people. How do you find the best people? Like, what are some tips that you could share with us? Some, really great ideas of how you found the best people? Because for you to oversee 58,000 units, that's just a lot of people. By the way, how many people were part of your team when you were in this position to oversee 58,000? How many people did you oversee directly, not indirectly, not side level, but corporate level?
Corporate level, 11 VPs and about 59 regionals. Yeah. Wow. So it's, right there, to answer your first question, how do you find the right people? Our industry is very big. It's huge. When you really put it in perspective, but it's super small as well. So I think, using the resources that are out there, if you're looking for a regional, you're asking vendors, like, who responds to you, who gets back to you, who answers your emails, who doesn't ignore you, those types of questions. And those are the people that I go after. The ones that are responsive, the ones that are, even if they're too busy to talk to you at that, right then and there, they're not too busy to respond and say, hey, this isn't for me right now. When it comes up, I'll reach out, those types of questions always come about, as far, and that's on the manager side too. When you go into a property and you're asking for the manager, is their door always closed? Who has their door open? Who's the one coming out and greeting you? So I ask those questions to a lot of like my vendors and national reps and the local reps, and they'll reach out to their local reps and ask those same questions. And I think that's a huge way that I continue to, bring in those good employees and then always promote within. I mean, when you can do it and you're pointing out those right teammates and you're finding them, that's the best. Promote within.
Could not agree with that more, right? Promote from within, and that's another thing, I touched upon that earlier. That's what today's job seeker and today's employee is looking for. An employee that feels invested in, that knows that there's a path to that, is also more dedicated longer.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yep. And they know, and when you promote within, others see that and they know that there's that opportunity.
I think we might have lost Lori out there for a second. Yeah, so she's returning. She's coming back.
Not sure what just happened, but it kicked me out like mid-sentence.
I think we heard some of it. So,
but again, getting back to the whole, people want to know that they have a path forward, and they'll be more dedicated and a longer-term employee if they feel invested in. Would you agree with that statement?
I do, and I think that when you see that in them, they're also others are recognizing it. So, others are seeing, hey, I can grow with this company as well. So I think it encourages them to learn more and, and do their best because they know that there's that opportunity to move in their career as well.
There was another question that I was going to move on to, but I wasn't sure if Adrian wanted to kick that question off. And it was really more about your role with multifamily consultants. So I don't know, Adrian, did you want to take that on, or do you want to?
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
So you have your own business, Multifamily Consultants. What inspired you to start your own business and keep it multifamily based?
Just kind of my passion. I've loved working in multifamily. I've been in it for basically more than half my life. So 26 years is a long time to really just continue in one industry and grow to different levels. But I wanted to kind of experience both sides of it. So I've never been on the industry partner side. So I wanted to experience that. I've helped a lot of companies grow their product over time. I've helped a lot of companies grow their companies, so improve their products and then also grow their company. So I just wanted to try that other side. I also have a passion for photography, and I hadn't been able to really, kind of do that a lot because of my role. It's a little bit of a conflict of interest if you're if you're also the photographer and that type of stuff. So I just, I wanted to expand that side of my life as well and continue with that. So I do photography and drone footage of properties and virtual tours. So I wanted to, improve that and then just, I love the industry. So I want to, stay on the operations side. When we took over properties at AMC, we were taking over a lot. And what I've come to find is there's a lot of operators out there that don't have good processes. They don't have, good procedures. They don't have that training to go back to. And they're people just kind of free flow. And I constantly hear that, oh, my regional was too busy to ever help me, or I never had the support, and it's like, so I wanted to try to expand that. I wanted to try to improve that for a lot of our industry, and hopefully, through consulting with different property management companies, I would be able to kind of influence that a little bit and, put in those policies and procedures, have that training program, this is what your regionals really should do versus what they may be doing, and I think yeah, just kind of, and then on the vendor side, really helping the vendors and improving their product. And I'm consulting with quite a few. I sell a lot of the product that I work with on the industry partner side. So doing all of it.
All the
and
things.
then just yeah. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing. But staying in multifamily was definite because I love the industry.
It just made sense, right?
Yeah.
And the consulting aspect of it, of helping people, I could not agree more. Structure is something that I think really is missed, in some
Yes.
companies. All companies should have some type of internal training department, even if you outsource industry designations, certifications relevant to someone's role. You need to have some internal training department that's always there as a kind of
Yes.
catch-all, right?
I agree.
You also need to have strong support systems in place for these employees in multiple aspects of the business. Yes, the regional is going to be busy. They're running a portfolio. They might be putting out so many fires a day. They have outside owners to deal with. They have a lot of things going on. And so you need to have a strong support system with your corporate support teams. And so I love that that's kind of the direction that's how you're consulting folks and letting them know this is what you need to have in place. And this is how things need to run for, that optimal productivity and best performance. The goal of, I've always seen it this way. The goal of education is knowledge. The goal of training is performance. And so there always needs to be that component in everything that, especially in this industry where things change so often, you need to always have somebody there to kind of say, all right, this is what's new. This is what's coming. This is the tech, whatever the case may be, to keep up with the times, so to speak. So,
well, yeah. And when people are rolling out the new tech and that new technology, some people just don't even know how to use it, or they don't know the process of using it, so it's like, you got to roll. You can't have that clunky rollout. You got to roll it out. You have to. And I think the one thing that is often forgotten is we have a lot of new employees. So, you're constantly turning over. And if you're not rolling through all of those processes, you're just assuming that they know and they've been around for so long. It's really, you have to continue. It has to be continuous. So.
There has to be strategies because you're going to have a resistance to tech. Ironically, it's the subject matter I'll be speaking about at an upcoming conference, but we're not going to go wild on that just yet. Details forthcoming, but that's literally a topic of conversation because it's such a hot button issue that teams are resistant to tech. And it's not that they want to be resistant. They just don't understand the purpose behind it. They don't understand the why. And you do owe them an explanation. Here's the why. Here's how it affects the business. And here's how it streamlines things and makes things easier. But you do need to have somebody there to properly, roll that out, implement, train, and support. So, Adrian?
Jaren, I want to stay with technology a little bit, right?
Okay.
And you mentioned the rollout, the challenges over there with the rollout and the opportunities. Let's talk a little bit about your experience with vetting technology. Like, what are some things that, PropTech could do better, like as far as the product, to make it more, user friendly? And then what is your experience with the industry being flooded by PropTech products, right? What's the thought process of? I work for companies, and not too long ago, like in a very recent months, that when you open up their portal, you're looking at an Apple store. Like, it's, of course, it's great in so many ways that you have so many resources, but on the other hand, I witnessed conversations where executives of companies. I think you and I were in the same room, where some executives were expressing the challenge that they have 50 plus, 60 plus different pieces of software that a leasing agent, like the most entry-level person in an organization, has to be proficient on. So we're now from taking PropTech and implemented it and use it as a tool to be useful for our people to do their job with, to improve, right, to make it easier. We're punishing people with technology. So a lot of thoughts here. What's your take?
Well, I kind of, that's why I got into the vendor consulting side. I really would love to help them with their product, help them with their, it's the end user experience. And like you said, someone learning 60 software, 60 different softwares is just insane. And no one should have to do that. Us at that top level, the higher level, have to really put the X to it. It's like, hey, these are the things that actually make us efficient. These are the things that we need to make sure are rolled out to our teams. All these, 55 other items are not efficient for us. So how do we continue to keep those items, in place and make them the best that they can be? That was one of the things that I always loved about AMC is they didn't have that. We called it fluff, and I hate if anyone gets mad about that, I'm sorry, but it is. A lot of the stuff is fluff, and if you're just using it because someone that's never been in property management tells you that you should be using this, don't. Vet it out, make sure that it is actually going to work how you want it to work, and then roll it out once it's efficient for your teams. Because like I said, no one should learn 60 different softwares, and I bet 15 of those softwares, maybe even 20 of those different softwares do almost the same exact thing. So, make sure that we're vetting it, make sure that it really coincides with what our end results we want them to be, and then roll out the best ones. There are so many out there. So do your homework. You got to vet out each one. You got to make sure that it interacts correctly with how you want it. Don't do big rollouts. Do the test, make sure it works correctly. Really, if you have a chief operating officer that, is involved, make sure whoever you're integrating with is involved. If you're integrating with a RealPage or a Yardi or AIM or, Fortress or whatever it may be, make sure that you're integrating the proper way. Make sure that those things talk correctly before you roll it out. I've seen a lot of rollouts of different things, and like you said, they don't really work. The end result is no one knows what they're for. You got to know the why. You got to explain why you want to do it. You got to explain how it works properly, and then make sure that product continues to grow. If you get with a company or a vendor in the prop tech world that is stagnant and not growing, that's an issue too, because you want to make sure that they're growing with the times. There's a lot of single softwares that work and have so much of the, so many of the items that one platform. You don't need 50, 60. So
Couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah, just vetting them out. Like you gotta make sure that end user is using them. Talk to your people. Talk to the people that are using them. If you're coming to me and asking me how the screening software integrates and works with the software, I don't use the screening software every day. I can figure it out, don't get me wrong, but I don't use it every day. So you got to talk to the people that are using it every day and get their feedback. They're very smart of how it could help improve as well. So listen to them, and then go to your product, go to that prop tech company and say, hey, these are the pain points for my team. You've got to improve them, or we're gonna we're gonna make a change. But it's so hard to make the change as well, right? Rolling things out is such a process, so you got to do that vetting up front.
I also find that you need to. Sorry, I was just going to add, Adrian, that you also need to find systems that speak to each other, because one of the biggest challenges for a site level employee is that, this system doesn't speak to this system. So you're having to navigate different systems to perform different tasks instead of trying to integrate as much as possible to one system that everything can be filtered through. So I think that's also part of it. Adrian?
I wanted to go a few steps back. You said, ask your people, provide feedback to the software company. I will say that before that, software companies should really consider hiring people that are currently or that used to be end users. Like they
Yeah.
shouldn't have to imagine how a user thinks or what their experience is. And unfortunately, I had to say, unless a prop tech piece was created by an operator to solve one of their pains, if it's just a prop tech company that don't have people on staff in the product line, like
Right.
imagining, like building that product right there that have been the end users, it's never going to be a great experience for the end user themselves. Do you
Right.
disagree here?
No, I agree 100%. In fact, I was talking with a company the other day, and they're trying to do, like, we want to shop our product. We want to, find out how it's working. Do you think we could hire college students in these markets where we want them to go and shop it? And I said, why would you hire college students? Hire leasing consultants. Hire them to go and, pay them $75 to go shop their comps. They got to do it anyways, but they also know how the product should work. They know how, if I go in and this is what my, is happening at my property, for someone to go and tour a property, these are the fixes, these are the changes. So, hire, if you're looking for someone to go and do those things, look at the leasing consultants. They're always hungry to make money and make more money. Why go outside of the industry and someone that has no idea what's going on? Hire leasing consultants. They're all over. And, and it's like, I have a good connection with a lot of leasing consultants. I could connect you with the ones that I know are going to give you the best feedback, and so I feel like, yes, I agree 100%. They should, if they don't have someone on their team that has been an operator, is a current operator, they should look to someone. And I mean, I'm not going to plug my name a whole lot, but Multifamily Consultants, we do the vendor consulting.
Okay,
we can help you with
I love that you do that. I love that you do it.
So
okay.
yeah, and
what we're here for. We actually, I do want to stay on the technology conversation because obviously, as you mentioned earlier, and as we know, there's so much technology, a lot of terms being thrown around, a lot of fear out there with things like AI or the use of Chat GPT. And so with that said, do you see any trends for 2024? Do you see anything changing? What do you see as the emerging trends when it comes to technology? Because I know there's a lot of fear out there right now about the use of AI and how it might affect even site level positions. That there's been chatter about that, about some positions maybe even being eliminated because of tech. So what do you see?
I say good luck to those property management companies that are going to only focus on AI. I think AI is great. Where it can help is that data entry, the heart, the pain of the work, the job that no one wants to do. I think that's where that you're going to see the biggest bang for your buck on those types of items. Creating a better dashboard, better data that comes in, so you can watch your trends, watch where things are going, how your team should focus, what your team should focus on. I think that's where that AI is really going to help. I feel like the trends coming are going to be on the maintenance side, because you kind of touched a little bit on it. Are they going to eliminate some of the positions? Some properties don't even have leasing consultants at the property. A lot of properties have gone away from assistant managers and made it more central. But you're never going to get rid of maintenance. 100%. So I feel like those that are focused on improving the maintenance side, making it more efficient for the maintenance team, like companies like AppWorks, SkillCat, HappyCo, all of them are thriving, I feel, and are going to continue to thrive because they're focused on what's going to never go away. The maintenance side will not. And I think making their job easier, having better training, better, hands-on training, that's where I think that the industry trend is going to go, and I feel like is going already. I feel like that's the way to reward your maintenance guys. Make sure that they understand. They're a huge part of why people renew, why people come there. They're a big part of the first impression as well. When someone moves in and their unit's not ready, that's on the, that's a part of the maintenance team. Is it on, it's obviously a part of the leasing team and stuff, and you want them to double check, but, motivating your teams, your maintenance side to really improve is going to be I think the trend moving forward.
I think now you're speaking Adrian's, of course you're always speaking now when you say training, but I know a passion for Adrian, really, maintenance and maintenance training. Honestly, I couldn't agree more. It's a hard position to fill, and it's a hard position to keep, right? And historically, I've spoken about this at conferences in the past, that they don't feel like they've had the amount of training and support as maybe, the managers or assistant managers releasing. They're the ones that were always sent to, the training classes, and like they've always kind of been left to just do what they've always known to do or know how to do. And maybe haven't had the same level of training and haven't felt the same level of support. So it's nice to see that, that has changed and continues to change for the better, and that we are placing more of a focus on supporting our maintenance professionals, because they're the heartbeat of the organization. Not only, Jaren, to your point about, the reason people renew, problems start and live online. When you talk about online reputation management, that's also a component of, what is your online reputation? Good or bad can also be reflective of what's happening with maintenance.
Yep, 100%. And I think that's, I feel like it's just going to continue that way. I love the fact that wages have started to be comparison, if not even a little bit higher on the maintenance side. So, I feel like that's going to be the continued trend. Yeah, Adrian knows this. He's just smiling over. This is near and dear to his heart.
This is his passion. But honestly, like incentivizing them too. I understand it's your job to be on call, but working in some additional incentives, because it is a sacrifice to, for example, be available in the evening hours or, weekend hours, taking away from your personal life. So it's nice to see that change. But I'll get off my soapbox now, because I know this is Adrian's passion project and topic of conversation. So I'll turn it back over to Adrian.
Yeah, I'd like to stay in this area a little bit, Jaren, and get your take on this situation, centralization, right? There's a lot of chatter about centralization, right? Both on leasing side and maintenance side. You did mention that some of the companies went away with their assistant manager positions. They're eliminating maybe some leasing positions. What's your take on centralization in general? Is this a real thing? Is it a buzzword? Is it just anywhere, somewhere in between, a mixed bag? And I want you to speak on centralization in maintenance specifically after your general overview.
So I don't think it's a buzzword. I feel like centralization has been around for a long time. A lot of companies they used to call it central control. We always referenced it at AMC as central control, which we didn't do. It started with like an LRO or a revenue management, where someone in Indiana is giving the rents in properties in El Paso, Texas, where they've never been. They don't know the market. So central control or centralization has been around in different aspects for a long time. But now you want to eliminate and take folks out of the property, out of the, I'm not a firm believer in it. I think there are aspects of it that work very well. And I think that it will work in certain classes in certain markets. I feel like, if you eliminate the human touch of anything, you're going to fail. You have to continue to have that human touch. So, I've talked to a lot of operators, and one said it right. He said, if someone is not answering the phones, you're not going to get leases. So, and someone that is answering the phone that knows the property, knows that market, knows it more than just reading from a script, off of a dashboard. So I think those are the types of things you have to consider when you're talking about centralization. The other topic that, if you're eliminating your assistant managers and you're eliminating your leasing agents from the property, where's your bench strength? Where are you finding that next manager? Are you taking them from your centralization location who, to me, those are a different type of people. Ones that sit behind a desk, ones that don't confront, don't sell, don't have customer service necessarily up front. They're a different type of person than what is going to be on site and on the on-site level. So you got to take that into consideration. Who's on your bench? Who is that next person going to move into the manager role if you have them sitting in a corporate office, never interacting with the human touch? And then I think, to kind of come back to the maintenance side, I'm in full agreement. You will never centralize that. I feel like there's going to be ways to help improve it. HappyCo has Happy Force, which I know has been a benefit to a lot of companies, especially when they're in the interim of hiring another person. But again, it's a fraction of what can be or what is going to be done on the property. When a maintenance guy is out, or when you're down a maintenance guy, you're hiring a temp service. You're hiring that person because someone's got to be on the property and at the property to be able to maintain it, to get into units, to be able to, provide that service. So if it will never go away. Maintenance centralization, I don't even know how you even start that, or how you would even go about doing that.
Well, you have to think about the emergencies also that would happen at the site level. Like you have to be able to have an immediate response to that. I don't see how you get away from that. I remember being a property manager, and it would be Friday afternoon, of course, at 4:30 in the afternoon, that the water heater would go out on the third floor and flood 5 apartments on the way down. And here you are in crisis mode, late in the afternoon on a Friday. And so, like, how do you respond? How do you provide the level of service that you have to and maintain the asset to, in the manner you need to without having somebody physically there? I don't see how that would happen either. I would have to agree.
I mean, if someone can come up with a great plan, I love the idea of, if you're like a pod, maybe it's a pod that goes out, you have like 3 or 4 in a group, and they hit like a certain part of the valley. If you're, maybe it's like the East Valley, you guys are responsible for this pod, and you hit these 4 properties today. Maybe that's a smaller unit count type of, change, but I just don't ever see it going away. You have to have that. You got to have that manpower. You have to have that person on site to be able to really address those issues.
So I do kind of want to go ahead, Adrian. I have a question.
Yes, speaking on the, staying on the centralization, and mention something saying that, we're eliminating the personal touches. I think that there's I'll say an incentive, right? The incentive, and maybe this is the way it's been perceived. The incentive being that we're gonna have a short-term gain by eliminating those positions. So, payroll is one of the heaviest expenses in property management, and it's very, very tempted. Because what happens with cost? Everybody wants to cut it down to trim it or eliminate it, and then by eliminating those positions, thinking that they're gonna be doing things from a central location and things are just gonna go just fine. It's hard to overcome that temptation. And you mentioned how you're gonna find your next managers. I had conversations. There's a school of thought out there that the next managers that are gonna be hired in these situations where most of your site positions are eliminated, they're gonna come from a different industry, and the role is going to evolve. I don't know how, but is not gonna be what it is today. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know how you change a property manager. I get the idea of like going out and hiring from different industries. I love that idea, because I feel like if you're a salesperson and you have good customer service and you know how to manage people, then you can be a manager in property management. But I feel like if someone comes in and they've never collected rent, they've never gone after delinquency, they've never, managed a maintenance guy who on that 4:30 in the afternoon had a huge date that night, and now he's got to cancel that date. And you're not only, you have to be in that real world situation. And I think where you gain that experience is being on site and seeing how your managers before you have handled it, and how you would handle it. It's like, hey, the manager may not be there at that 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, and you're the assistant or you're the leasing agent, and it's like, okay, I've seen my manager do this. Now I got to go out and handle it. And you got to handle that maintenance guy who is not wanting to stay, wasn't expecting that, or has to come back in. If they're coming at or if they leave at 4 and they got to come back in for that kind of stuff. So I really feel like it is good to bring them from the outside. I feel like it brings new perspective, it brings new flow, but you're really not going to change the core operations of property management. I mean, those are the core operations. We literally do full circle every single month, year after year. You collect rent, you now collect delinquency, you now evict, you move people. It will never change. It's a never-ending circle of life, and so I don't know how you would actually change that. But it's the same thing month over month. So I don't know how to evolve that process except through different efficiencies and being able to learn from it. And that's why I feel like centralization is not always here to stay. It doesn't necessarily eliminate a huge amount of the payroll. You're still paying for it. That one person might be over 5 properties, but then is that property collecting the amount of income that they should be? Are they collecting on their bad debt that they should be? That an assistant manager would normally go after and collect. And again, the renewals, the move-ins. I mean, it doesn't just start with rent collection and bad debt. It also goes to the renewal and that new move-in in the system. And just that experience of signing a lease and getting their keys and to their new home, and the leasing agent or the assistant or even manager walking with them into their new home and showing them the tips and tricks of what's involved in their new home. It's hard to take that experience and make it better when you're not there. So I feel like there is that person. There's few people that love that. Hey, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want everything online. You're going to find that, but I don't think the majority of people are not that way in my book and in my experience.
I think there's something to be said. Administrative tasks can be done, with the centralization, concept, when it comes to, lease signing and online applications, things of that nature. But when you can't miss out on the most critical aspect, and that is the people aspect, the human element. We have to maintain the human element in a digital age. Our industry does very much. But I want to stay on somewhat of a similar topic as far as qualities. A lot of what you discussed was qualities that would be required from, a community manager at the site level. Overall, what do you feel like are the qualities that make for a successful property management leader, whether it is at the site level as a community manager, regional, or higher? What are the qualities that are consistent from successful leader to successful leader, in your opinion?
Well, I feel like you have to have confidence is key, because you got to be assertive. You have to make sure that you have that confidence to be able to teach them. Like if a question comes up and it's like, hey, I got to go ask my boss every single time, you got to have that confidence. The communication, you definitely have to have communication, because those, if you don't have good communication, detailed communication, things get slip through the crack. So just, work on your communication. I think probably just good knowledge of the product, of everything that is the aspect of what you do, the processes, the procedures, knowing that. And I think, one of the best qualities is, and I'm touching on your point again, is just being a good trainer. Probably one of the best things that someone ever told me is that when I train, I don't make them feel dumb. Understanding that even if they're in a regional position, or if they're in a community manager position, you make them feel like like you were taught that day, like you want to learn, and they're there to learn. So don't, never make anyone feel dumb. Never make them, don't point out what they should know, because you know what? People learn differently. So really, train your team, because they're going to be the ones that make your life the easiest. So, you're no longer, managing real estate. You're managing people that manage real estate. So you have to think of it that way. So, make sure that they're managing and going about those skills the best way. But the more knowledge you have, the better your team's going to be. So just sharing that knowledge with them and making sure that they're trained properly, I think is probably, one of the ones. Just the things that kind of stick out lately for me is positivity, resilience, and then having, just having that integrity, following what you believe in at all times, and don't really, don't skip a beat on that.
I also, I want to, those are some really great points. I agree. All of those qualities are necessities. I would add to that whether it's training or whether it's communication, that the end user, being the employee, whoever's involved in the conversation or involved in the training, should feel like that conversation, that learning is a circle of safety. They should feel comfortable to know that it's okay to ask questions and there are no dumb questions. And, I'm not going to be running back to your supervisor telling them, well, they didn't know this or they didn't know that, or they asked this. Can you believe they asked this question? Like, they need to feel safe in that environment. And if you can do that, you will get that natural curiosity from them, which will allow them to learn and encourage them to always continue learning. We'll always continue. It's my first, in my headline on LinkedIn, lifelong learner. That's really, it's what I lead with, because it's not just the nature of my role. That's one thing that's a common denominator with all of us, is we're all lifelong learners. We understand this industry will continue to evolve. It'll grow. It'll change, over time for different reasons. And we'll always be learning and passing that along and sharing. I love that you say sharing that knowledge, because I think that's one of the biggest pieces that, of the puzzle, so to speak, that makes people feel part of an organization, is when you're transparent with information and you share what you know with them. That's what inspires that team playing environment, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Adrian?
Jaren, we all have people in our lives that have inspired us, or like they made a difference in our lives. What would you say, who are the top people that made a difference, a positive difference in your career and in your life? Who are those people?
Well, let's see. There's a lot of people, but probably, I would start with the personal, just because, my parents growing up, teaching me the hard work side, teaching me the love side. I think that was it. Recently, over the last 14, 15 years, my wife, she's been huge, because she makes me look at things at a different perspective. So she, it's like, I'll tell her what's going on and she'll be like, well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you try that? And it's been so beneficial and helpful. Obviously the owner of AMC, I grew up with him, known him a long time, and he's been a huge inspiration and movement in my life. Sorry. And probably the last one that I felt is notable. I mean, just her name is Janet Bray. She worked with Acacia Capital, but she taught me how to fail and get back up. So, so many times just maybe not doing the right things, not checking, not verifying on people, and then you fell, and it's okay, but you can get back up and you can do better and you can improve. You can get off people's crap list. And so just being able to improve and move forward, I think that was a huge lesson learned from her.
First of all, that's beautiful that you were so moved when you were thinking about the people that inspired you in life. And I love that your wife is one of them. You always have to have that one person, the devil's advocate, so to speak, because they don't see it the way we do. They look at it, like you said, with a different vantage
Right.
point, which has so much benefit. With that said, this industry can be tough, right? You've been
Oh,
in
yeah.
this, what you said, 26 years. There are days that may feel thankless. There are days that you question your sanity or why you even do this. Maybe sometimes. I know I have it. I know, I know I'm not alone. It can be a tough industry. When you think about housing, we're just off of the pandemic, and how hard was that for all of us? We were navigating something that none of us had a rule book for how to navigate through and how to come out, the other side. So with that said, like, what do you recommend to manage like the responsibilities and the stress that they may bring? Like, how do you manage that? And what do you recommend for others, in
Well,
the industry?
so about a year ago, I probably would have said drink more. Um, but
A
I
lot of people
actually,
would say
yeah, I
that.
think I actually stopped drinking about a little over 8 months ago. And so I wouldn't say that anymore. I would actually tell them, get away from your desk a little bit. Go for a walk, get in the sunlight, exercise. Because a year ago, myself, I wasn't as happy. I was stressful. I don't know, stressed out, not stressful, stressed out. Work was stressful. When I was on a plane and people would ask what I do, I would basically say, I collect trash. I get all of the trash thrown at me, and I have to figure out how to dispose of it. And I have to figure out how to, fix it. And so, just get outside, do something, save some time for yourself. Make sure that work is huge, family life is huge, but make sure that you also, take that time for yourself. You have to put some time in for you. And whether it's like a walk outside in the sunlight and getting that exercise, it's huge. It's very, very crucial to you being successful. And when you're not, it puts other people vibe off of that. Other people, know that you're in a bad mood or in a bad way that day. And then also just know that there's a tomorrow. There's that time where you got to cut off. Tomorrow's going to come, and that's why they have tomorrow. You can't get everything done in one day. Make sure you prioritize those things that do need to get done, but there's the time where you got to cut off, and you have to do that for yourself.
So ensuring a work-life balance really is the message here, because that's so important. If you burn yourself out, you're no good to anybody. You're not good to your employer. You're not good to anybody in your personal life.
100%. Yeah. And like 2018, I did our RPM leadership conference, and it was, the whole, event was based on a work-life balance and friends and family and health and, and work. You're going to work. You have to work, unless, most people have to work, but we have to work. And so, finding that balance to bring in with the rest of it is just, you have to prioritize those things.
Jaren, I want to talk a little bit about legacy. We're only going to be around for a short time, even a shorter time in our careers than in our lives, right? So
Right.
How do you want to be remembered?
That's tough. I think probably just how I am right now. Just, motivating, always training, teaching people. I was self-taught. So everything that I've learned has been from others, from, me going out and learning that, whether it's my photography or whether it's fly fishing or those types of things. It's all, you kind of just, you've got to learn that. But my legacy, I hope that people remember me for motivating them and for training them and teaching them to be better. And, I look at like my group of people that have worked for me. A lot of them were my managers, were my leasing consultants, and now they're regionals and VPs and, you know, senior VPs. So just, I feel that's a true testament to what I've done in the past and being able to, you know, just continue to teach and, you know, produce great employees. So.
I love that. So I do have one question. Getting back to your business, final plug, if you will. What sets multifamily consultants apart from other consulting firms in the industry? If you had to pick that one thing, even if it was just one thing that sets you apart, like why you? Why should someone choose you?
Because of me? No.
No, that could be the answer. And that could be that could be the answer. But like, why you?
I think that's a big part why people have chosen me so far, is me. You know, I'm vested in it. I really want I want everyone to be very successful. You know, like I said, when I kind of talked earlier, I've helped companies grow their product. I've helped them review their product and make it better on the end user. Also growing companies, you know, and then just, you know, my whole goal through AMC was always to make our clients the most money we could with, you know, finding the savings, renegotiating contracts. So there's just so many simple, basic things that are missed in a lot of companies, that, you know, let's just bring your company back to basics and you will be very successful. So.
Adrian?
Jaren, thank you so much for being here with us. Before I give you the last word, I do want to go to Lori. And Lori, do you have any final thoughts to share about the conversation we had today?
You know, you've said so much, about, you know, especially towards the end about, you know, who you are and what you bring to the table and what you've done for your employees. You've talked about your motivations, your passions. My question for you would be, how would somebody go about reaching you if they're interested in working with you? Let's get them in touch with you.
So pretty simple. My email is jarenb@multifamilyconsultants.net. And my website is multifamilyconsultants.net as well. They can reach me through there. Through email is probably quickest. And my phone number and stuff's on there, text, whatever communication you like. Also LinkedIn, you know, I'm on there quite a bit as well. So.
Good to know. We want our audience to know how to connect with you. So.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jared, anything that we should have covered, we don't have the opportunity to cover? Any question you wish we would have asked, we didn't? Any answer for that particular question? Anything that you want to say in closing?
No, I think you guys covered so much. I mean, it's just been a great conversation, and I really appreciate you having me. Yeah, if anyone's in need of some help or some, you know, just guidance, also mentorship, those types of things, I love helping, and would be very interested in helping whomever and gain in their careers and move forward. So if you need anything like that as well, just reach out.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching us today. I'm Adrian Danila, your host. Lori Agudo, my co-host today, extraordinaire. Thank you, Lori, for being a great co-host. And
thank you.
Jaren, Bradley, thank you so much for being with us, for taking an hour of your day to come and share a lot of wisdom with us and a lot of insights from the industry. We hope to see you guys back here soon. Have an amazing day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
you.